See, I used to blame everything outside for my lack of progress until I found the problem was inside. For a big share of my life, I kept looking for the answers to do well outside, and I found out the answers were inside. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you become. You see, it's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens to about everybody. The sun went down on all of us last night, a common event, and I found out the same things can happen to two different people, but one gets rich and the other stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, but rather it's what you do about it. That is an important phrase for your written and mental note. It's not what happens, it's what you do that makes the difference in how your life works out. What happens is about the same for everybody. It's what people do that makes the difference. Anything can happen, right? I've heard all of the stories. Hey, I've been one of the stories. We could all tell stories for days on end. Anything can happen. Have you heard of Murphy's Laws? Surely you have. Murph had these laws. One of the laws was, if anything can go wrong, it will. That's one of Murphy's laws. Anything can happen. I've fallen out of the sky so many times. Once to the tune of a couple of million. Devastating. Took me a while to get over that one. Now, it wasn't all that much, but it was all I had. That's much, right? When it's all you've got. If you've got 3 and 2 go and you've got 1 left, you aren't looking that bad, but when it all goes, I'm sure you've had that kind of experience. Of course, a long time ago, when you ran out of money and got to 0, you were all through. Heck, now you can whistle right on by 0, right? They will bury you these days. But those are happenings. Everyone's got the same happening. The big question is, what are you going to do about it? Someone says, yes, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Come on. Procrastination is particularly life-threatening because when we put something off, it doesn't seem at the moment to be all that important. At the end of the day, if you have let a few things slide, it doesn't seem like such a bad day. However, enough of those days piled up will make a disastrous year, and eventually, a disastrous life. Our inability to come to grips with a natural tendency to procrastinate will surely send us drifting in the wrong direction. Before you reach the final session of this program, you'll have left procrastination behind. If you're still troubled by it, you'll have discovered that it's simply too costly to put up with any longer. Besides, you'll be too excited about where you're going to postpone the activities taking you there. Self-imposed limitation number 2, blame. All of us have blamed others for our troubles from time to time. In fact, the tendency to blame someone or something goes back a long way. When there were only 2 people on earth, it wasn't long before they started blaming. The man said, "It was the woman. She got me into this." And the woman blamed the serpent. Blame seems to be one of those negative tendencies that just comes naturally. The ego striving to defend itself.
Because, lady, I'm is rich and there ain't nothing you can do about that. I don't know how successful you want me to be. They got this clock right here, so I'm gonna try to stay close to time. Of course, ain't nobody else did their time. Everybody else went long. But see, I'm a professional, so I looks down at the clock. But I'm gonna try to tell you something that's really important here. A lot of you are young in this room. I want to teach you something that I learned that changed my life also. Everything that changed my life came from God. I just got to keep talking to you like that, you understand? But I'm a real dude. I'm not a fake person. I am an imperfect soldier for Christ. That's what I am. Key word, imperfect. Because I know I still do some things that ain't, you know what I'm saying? I smoke cigars, I gamble, I shoot dice, dice, craps, hustle. I still see women as, I don't do nothing about it. I just see you now. Now, 20 years ago, Lord Jesus. But I have learned even how to see beautiful women and be spiritual about it. Because, out in Hollywood now, it's Me Too. This real. They taking careers out of it. So when I take pictures, I've been taking pictures all over the place. You see me taking pictures, you see all my fingers. Oh, I had a woman all up under me last night. Hand on my chest, you go ahead. I ain't got nothing for you, man. I don't mess with this. But I found how to be spiritual. So now this is how whenever I'm walking and I see a beautiful woman, I have found a way to get it out my chest, but stay spiritual. So when I walk by and I see her, I go, Jesus. Praise the Lord. Because my wife, man, is like the chick of my dreams, man. And I told you, I've been married twice. I've been through it. When God gave me this chick right here, he saved my life, man. He saved my life. I tell dudes all the time, you can be a successful man without a woman, but you'll never great.
So the master came back. So the story goes, 5 turned into 10, 2 turned it into 4. Brother 1 said, I kept what you gave me. I didn't put a spin on it. I didn't make it better. If God brings somebody in your life, make them better. If God gives you a talent, make it better. If God opens up a financial blessing, don't just hold it in your hand. Make it better. And so the master looked at him, he got mad. He said, you should have put my money to the exchange. You should have done something with what I gave you. You should have done something with every day. You should have done something with every opportunity. You should have done something with every day of your life. You should have done something. You should have stopped crying and complaining. You should have done something. I felt bad for Brother 1. I'm just that kind of person. I'm always for the underdog. Yeah, I could have been Judas's lawyer. And I said, Lord, this is not fair, because when you read the text carefully, you didn't tell Brother 5, Brother 2, or Brother 1 to increase. You never told them to increase. You gave them what you gave them and left. You did not command them to increase. So you're judging this brother kind of hard, Lord, because his brother had a hard life, Lord. He'd been through a lot of stuff. You never told him to increase. So no, this is not about commandment. It's about instant. Do you have the instinct to increase? And I thought, oh my God, you never commanded them to increase, but you expected them to increase. The kingdom of heaven will not command you to increase, but he expects you to increase. That's why he says stuff like, be fruitful and multiply. I expect you to take everything I gave you and give increase to what I've given you. And I said, wait a minute, wait. Let me try to figure this out. Let me try to figure it out. And I said, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. And then all of a sudden the Lord called 10 witnesses out. And he said, do you remember the 10 lepers? They came before Jesus and they said, oh, Jesus, have mercy on me. And Jesus says to the 10 lepers, go show yourself. Listen to this. This is a command. Go show yourself to the priest. And the Bible said that all 10 of them started moving toward the priest. But while they were headed to the priest, all of them looked down and they began to see that they were healed. Isn't it something that when you start walking in the Word, you get healing in your life? You don't have to struggle, you don't have to labor, but the more you obey God, the more his healing power operates in your life. And as they were walking, they all began to experience the healing, but one of them turned around and went back to Jesus and said, Lord, I just came to say thank you. And Jesus looked at the one and said, where are the 9? And I said, Lord, you didn't tell them to come back. You told them to go show themselves to the priest. He said, yes, but I put an instinct down inside of you that when you get your blessing, I shouldn't have to tell you to praise me. I shouldn't have to tell you to trust me. You ought to have the instinct.
So it's vitally important to discover, first of all, that there is a voice in your head that indulges in self-talk most of the time. And for many people, interestingly enough, that self-talk, for many people, is not always negative, but for many people, it is more negative than positive. A good event that happened yesterday, you might have gone to a nice reunion, or you went out into nature and you witnessed a beautiful sunset. Okay, you can remember it today and think that was a beautiful sunset, or we had a nice talk yesterday. But you can't do that much thinking about a nice event. But the mind, when there's something negative that happens yesterday, somebody offended you or didn't give you the attention that you wanted from him, then you can start thinking of how, oh my God, what he did, he's really, next time he does that, I'm going to say that, or he really should, why doesn't he, you can go on for a long time dwelling on something negative, much longer than dwelling on something positive. It is so seemingly a negative event is much more food for useless mind activity than a positive event. And this is why for many people a significant percentage of their mind activity is negative. For some people it is almost 100% negative, but it is unlikely that these people would get a job in this company because your predominant state of consciousness, your predominant mental emotional state, there's a certain correlation between who you associate with, where you find yourself, and even what kind of things happen to you. There is a correlation which is not always immediately recognizable, but there is a correlation between a person's predominant mental emotional state and who they are with, who their friends are, where they work, and even what happens to them. So if you are in a very negative state a long time, you tend to attract also negative events, but you can only have to find that out for yourself. I'm not saying believe me. I know it from my own life, because when I first discovered this, I was still very young. I discovered that there is a correlation between my mind activity and what happens to me. I found a book several books that somebody left with us when I was 17. And there for the first time, I read about a person's mind, and I suddenly realized my mind was predominantly negative because I was a very unhappy child. And so my childhood was not pleasant. And so the initial conditioning of my life was that my mind was continuously commenting and saying how bad my life was. And whenever something bad happened to me, I had a phrase that would occur again in my mind that, of course, bad things always happen to you, don't they? They're bound to happen to you. It always happens to you. So I was talking to myself and saying that bad things would always happen to me, and they did. So you can discover first that the spiritual awakening is to discover that there is continuous mind activity.
Well, the first book was called Extreme Ownership. And what that means is you're not going to make any excuses. You're not going to blame anyone else. You're going to take ownership of whatever happens. And when something goes wrong, instead of pointing fingers and blaming someone else, you're going to take ownership of that problem. You're going to take ownership of figuring out what the solution to that problem is, and you're going to take ownership of implementing that solution. So that is the number one thing that I'm looking for a leader to do, is to take ownership of the problems. And again, we called that extreme ownership. And it was one of those things that was very easy to see in a SEAL platoon, because when someone doesn't take ownership and starts pointing fingers and blaming, well, like for instance, right now, if I started pointing my finger and blaming you for something, what's your natural reaction going to be?
You get defensive, get upset. I mean, it's not my fault this broadcast isn't what I wanted it to be. Come
exactly,
on,
exactly. And then what happens is we have a team where I'm pointing the finger at you, you're pointing the finger at someone else, and now we have no one taking ownership of the problems, and therefore the problems never get solved. The opposite of that is when you have a good leader that steps up and says, hey, Ben, you know what? This broadcast didn't go the way I wanted it to. I should have done a better job preparing for your questions. I'm sorry, I apologize. And now instead of you getting defensive, you say, you know what? No, actually, I could have done a better job. And now both of us are taking ownership of the problems, and we're going to get them solved. If you're blaming everyone else, I can't control you. I can't control these other things outside. I can't control. The only thing I can control is me. So instead of worrying about who else is causing you problems, worry about what you can do to yourself to improve your station. And if you go down that path, you're going to find you have a lot more control than you think you do.
How do we make good decisions? Well, number one, making correct decisions. You got to study. You got to know and understand. You got to know the background. You've got to know the historical outcomes of equivalent type decisions that have happened in the past, similar situations. And if you know the history and you know the background, then you can use those to assess the current situation you're in. And then once you assess the decisions that you can make, assess the possible actions that you can take, and then assess the outcomes that those decisions will have, those actions will have. And when you're doing that, you also have to assess the possibilities of inaction. So a lot of times people forget that one. They don't know if they should do A or B. What they forget is there's also, what if I don't do either? What's going to happen? Sometimes not doing either is good. Or a lot of times not doing either is bad. So you got A or B. What should you do? Maybe sometimes you got to pick A or B. Sometimes, occasionally, it's better not to do anything, and you wait and let the situation develop a little bit more. So the point of this is whatever you can know beforehand, you know. You learn, you study, you understand, you know the standard operating procedures, you know what variations have been made on the standard operating procedures, and that's how you go forward. As leaders, I see people getting caught up all the times in little things that will not affect some white belt below them in the chain of command's going all crazy, grabbing their sleeve, and this leader on the top gets concerned about it and puts time and effort into something that doesn't matter, whether it's a little personality rub, a little ego uprising. It's like, should we do it this way or should we do it that way? It doesn't matter. That's a little sleeve grab. It doesn't matter. And I see people getting caught up on things that don't matter all the time. And what I've realized is it's something that I figured out a long time ago. I don't know when, but a long time ago, I figured out, you know what? That thing doesn't matter. I'm not going to worry about it. That thing doesn't matter. I'm not going to worry about it. That thing doesn't matter. I'm not going to worry about it. That thing matters. I'm going to focus on that thing. And that makes a big difference. It's leadership capital. Because if I'm investing my leadership capital in getting your hand off my sleeve, or trying to do it my way instead of your way, or trying to keep your ego in check, if that's what I'm investing my leadership capital in, I have nothing left to invest in the thing that actually matters.
So what I meant by that is every day we're seeing who we are as people. When I was growing up, I lied for people to accept me because I didn't accept myself. So I would make up stories so then you would accept me into your world. everything I did was for someone else to like me. It wasn't until I started reading my own book about how pathetic I was as a human being. I could blame my dad, I can blame kids at school, I could blame having health issues, ADD, my mom not being around. I could blame a lot of people, and that's the book I was reading. And I put it off on everybody else. It wasn't until I said, you know what, for me to fix this, I gotta read what the fuck is wrong with David Goggins. Not blame anybody. Read my book and say, okay, I'm afraid of my shadow. How can I overcome that? Go in the military, get your ass kicked, do things you hate to do, be uncomfortable every fucking day of your life. Roger that. I'm not the smartest kid in the world. Okay. Instead of somebody saying, oh no, you're smart. No, don't say that to yourself. I said to myself, no, I'm a dumb motherfucker. Okay, roger that. How you get smarter? Educate yourself. So the things that we run from the truth. We're running from the truth, man. So the only way I became successful was going towards the truth. As painful and as brutal as it is, it changed me. It allowed me to become, in my own right, who I am today. The first ultra marathon wasn't smart at all. So basically what happened was, I was at military free fall school with Morgan Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell, if you guys don't know, was the lone survivor, the guy. He was in a bad op went bad. He was the only Navy SEAL that lived. Long story short, you gotta get the book, read Lone Survivor, great story. Morgan is Marcus Luttrell's twin brother, and I was there with Marcus. So what happened was, myself and Morgan were in free fall school. At the same exact time, Marcus was in the worst incident in SEAL history. So I knew that Marcus might be dead. He wasn't dead, everybody else was dead. So I actually brought Morgan, I actually told Morgan, hey man, your brother was in a bad incident. I don't know if he's alive, I don't know what's going on. Long story short, Marcus is alive, and I go on to want to raise money for families. All these guys died, they all had kids. I want to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. It's a foundation where 100% tuition goes to these kids to go to college, full tuition, whatever. So I found this great foundation. I'm going to raise money for it. So I said, you know what? I have to Google something that's evil, something very hard. I knew nothing about ultra marathons. I hadn't even run a marathon. I knew nothing about this world. So I Googled the top 10 hardest races in the world. And what comes up is a Badwater 135. It's a 135-mile race through Death Valley in the summertime. I thought it was a stage race. I thought it was a race where you run like 20 miles, set up camp, barbecue outside, and then go run some more the next day. So I called the race director up at the race and said, hey, Chris, his name is Chris Kosman, I want to do your race. So we had a long conversation. I was much heavier then, and I hadn't put running shoes on in over a year.
How heavy are you at this point?
I'm around between 240 to 270.
Whoa.
I'm in there. I'm in that range. My weight has varied a lot through the SEAL teams and out of the SEAL teams, so I was a heavy guy. But the long and short of it all was, I hadn't put running shoes on in over a year. I was a big-time power lifter. I lifted weights heavy. That's what I did. Right. I got back home from Iraq, went straight to free fall school, and then this happened. So I called Chris Kosman up on a Wednesday. He says, look, man, the only way you can qualify for my race is to run 100 miles at one time in 24 hours or less. There happened to be a race that Saturday, so 4 days later. And he said, if you qualify by running 100 miles or less in 24 hours, I will consider you my race. My goal was 100 miles. So I got to mile 70, and I cleared 70 miles in like 12, 13 hours pretty quickly. But I was done.
I can read, you can read. I can understand, you can understand. From where I came from, a few simple things I did and tried revolutionized my life in 5 years. There isn't anybody here that can't do it. Change from pennies to fortunes. Change from nothing to something. Change from broke to rich. Anybody in this room can do it. If any of us can do it, we all can do it. That's the kind of value you should place on it. Jim Rohn can understand it, I can understand it. If he can read, I can read. If he can find it, I can find it. If he can change, I can change. If he can get it done, I can get it done. That's the attitude about yourself. So valued, okay? Now, in transforming our lives, we don't start with attitude. We don't start with the inspiration here. We start with education. Somebody says, well, I expected you to just come get motivated today. Well, that probably won't do it. Somebody says, by now we should be standing on the chairs, waving a flag, singing the old gray mare. Get going here. No, that's not where you start. Life change does not start with inspiration. Life change starts with education. You've got to be educated to the point of where you might have messed up. My teacher put it in blunt, simple language. He only went to the 9th grade school, so put it in simple language I could understand. He said, Mr. Rohn, after 6 years living in America, healthy American male, 25 years old, been working 6 years, 1 year of college, pennies in your pocket, nothing in the bank, behind on your promises. Choate said, I just got one simple explanation for that. You've messed up. Now, I could understand that kind of language. Substitute a Hershey bar for an apple means you've messed up. Should walk around the block, could walk around the block, won't walk around the block. You have messed up. And all you got to go is right down through the list. Don't need some teacher to come by and tell you. Be your own best teacher saying, hey, let me make a list of some places I've messed up. Because if I let this down, that probably affects the rest. And the answer is that's true. So we don't start with inspiration, start with education. Somebody says, well, just motivate this guy. He'll be all right. Just motivate him, get him turned on. Probably not. If the guy's an idiot, you motivate him, now you got a motivated idiot. No, he won't be all right. So we start with education. What's the first education? If it isn't going well and you live in America, you have messed up. You don't need to change countries. You say, well, the country's messed up. That's like cursing the soil and cursing the seed and the sunshine and the rain, which is all you got. Don't curse all you got. When you get your own planet, you can rearrange this whole deal. But this one, you got to take it like it comes. So number 2 was attitude. Here was number 3, activity. This is the work part, the labor part, taking action. The activity is the miracle work piece. Miracle being something we don't quite understand how it works doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means we just don't quite understand how it works. Miracles work. God says. Now, I'm an amateur on God, but here's my best analysis. God says, if you'll plant seed, I'll make tree. Now, that's a good arrangement. Number 1, gives God the tough end of the deal. What if you had to make the tree? That'd keep you up late at night trying to figure out, how do you make a tree? Say, no. I'm telling you, the mystery and the miracle of this stuff has already been set up. God says, I got the miracle going. I got the seasons going. I got some sunshine and some rain, and I'm God, but the way I've arranged it, I just need somebody to plan, not chant. California, they're trying to chant to get this stuff done. Forget this California stuff. You don't have to rub a crystal and sleep under a pyramid. Stuff's too easy. Getting rich is too easy. Changing your life is too easy. Forget all that. Massive bombard, affirmation, forget all that, in my opinion. Ocean waves and seagulls, come on, this stuff's simple, easy stuff. But if you neglect, that's how it piles up year after. If you're willing to straighten it out. Here's one of the keys, called activity, called discipline. Turning wisdom from your philosophy and inspiration, strengthening of attitude, faith, courage, commitment, all this stuff that comes from attitude. If you're willing to take these 2 qualities, philosophy and attitude, and invest it into activity, you can have a miracle. Anything short of that, no miracle. Wisdom doesn't perform a miracle. Attitude doesn't perform a miracle. The only thing that performs a miracle of increase called equity is called putting wisdom and attitude, discipline, labor. This labor now performing. Here's the 2 parts of the labor. 1, do what you can. Number 2, do the best you can. Give you better advice. Number 1, do what you can. You just got to go home and make a list after today. Here's the question to ask as you make this personal list. What am I not doing that would be easy to do, that could greatly change my health, my wealth? What am I not doing I'm neglecting that would be easy to do? Go home and answer that question personally. You don't have to put the answers on a public bulletin board. They're just all personal. From the walk around the block to the apple to what to do with your money, which we're going to cover today. What does a child do with $1? We're going to cover that today. Errors in judgment, just ask. A few simple disciplines, wealth beyond imagine. And if you'll pick up the activity part, the miracle working part, plant the seed part, take care of your part. Soil will take care of its part. The seed will take care of its part. The seasons will take care of their part. The miracle will take care of its part. If you'll take care of your part, called putting it into activity. Works miracle. 2,000 years ago, on April 13th, one of Jesus' disciples. Now again, I'm an amateur on the Bible. The best as I can remember it, one of Jesus' disciples said to Jesus, it's time to pay our taxes and we don't have any money. That's how come I know it was about April 13th. To this statement by his disciple, Jesus said, best as I can read the record, Jesus said, no problem. Now why could he say no problem? Well, word has it, he was a miracle worker. Word has it, if you're a good student of history, word has it, he was a miracle worker. If you handed a problem to a miracle worker, what would he be inclined to say? No problem. You got to hang out with folks like that. I belong to a small group like that. We do business around the world. You hand these guys a problem, they say no problem. What? How many books would they read to solve it? Many as it takes. How early would they get up? Early as it takes. How much information would they get? As much as they needed. So it's what? No problem. You got to hang out with folks like that. Jesus said this will be no problem, the tax thing. He said to his disciple, it's simple. Go fishing. Wow. Now that was easy for this particular disciple. His name was Peter, and Peter was a fisherman. How clever. How clever. But here's the real problem. If you should fish, and you could fish, and you don't fish, you got no miracle. You could change, you should change, you won't change. That's called accumulated disaster.
And the next day when we were in the truck going back to Liberty City and we pulled down 68th Terrace, the neighbors came out and said, "Whoa, Mamie, y'all coming back? Are you back?" "Yes." "What happened to the home your boy bought for you? Those boys you adopted?" Leslie didn't do a title search. He made a mistake. And boy, I was so humiliated. How many ever made a mistake that you were just humiliated? Raise your hands. I was devastated. I was taking the furniture off the truck and my mother came and I was crying. And she said, "Boy," I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Hold your head up." I said, "Mama, I can't." She said, "Hold your head up." I said, "Why? Look what I've done." She said, "It's okay. It's okay. You are going to make a lot of mistakes in life, young man. You're going to fail your way to success. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Keep your head up and take that furniture back in the house." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I learned something from that. If you ever go through something, hold your head up. If you ever make a mistake, hold your head up. If you ever do something that everything goes wrong, life catch you on the blind side, hold your head up. It's not over. Goethe says, "That which does not kill you will make you stronger." Hold your head up. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, "Hold your head up." Here's something else, ladies and gentlemen. Repeat after me, please. You got to be hungry. Everybody together, you got to be hungry. I'll never forget, Mr. Washington said, "Mr. Brown, yes, sir. What do you want to do with your life, young man?" I said, "Sir, I want to be a disc jockey." He said, "Mr. Brown?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You got to be hungry." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People that are hungry are willing to invest in themselves. People that are hungry will go to seminars and workshops. People that are hungry are always searching, always seeking higher ground." So how do you want to make it? I said, "I want to be a disc jockey." He says, "Good. Here's what to do." He said, "I want you to read 10 to 15 pages of something positive every day." He said, "You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. You must program yourself to success." He said, "I want you to listen to Earl Nightingale and Zig Ziglar. Listen, faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing." He said, "I want you to change your relationships, and I don't want you to ever lose your hunger." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry are no matter what people. They make it happen no matter what." He said, "I want you to listen to Paul Harvey." Who is he? He's the world's greatest communicator. Success leaves clues, young man. Always listen and follow people who are doing what it is you want to do at the level you want to do it and learn from them.
But if you just give me your normal pitch, here's the package, here's the money, here's what you can make, that gets average, ordinary people to say yes. You must express outwardly what you're looking for when you're recruiting. Does that make sense to everybody? Say yes to that. You combine an evangelical message, being a great storyteller, and starting to express exactly what you're looking for and visualize that person. Are they a man or are they a woman? Are they short or are they tall? Are they minority or are they not? Do they have a military, athletic background? What are you looking for? Not just people. You'll begin to attract to your organization the very people you look for if you're specifically looking for them. Make sense? Yes or no? Don't you want that person who's like, "I don't even have to call this dude. I don't even call him. He's out there before me." I remember the first time my best guy ever made millions of dollars. I remember the first time we had a meeting and he picked up the chairs after the meeting. It was just a little thing. I was like, the meeting was over and I always was the guy who folded all the chairs afterwards. I'll never forget his name's Dan Charlier, the dude that I talked about in his wedding. And he was a former drill instructor in the Marine Corps, carried the colors at the White House. He's a stud. Anyway, this dude picked up all the chairs after. I was like, I've been here 5 years. No one's ever picked up those chairs. I might have a one more multiplier. Turns out I did. And I had about 8 of him within about a year. And it made my organization go from a good company to a movement, to a cause, because I got one more multiplier. A couple more things I want to share. This is good stuff, by the way. I hope we got a recording of this. I think I want this one. All right, so All right, so a couple more things really quick because I'm limited on time. I want to tell you a story about Ed Milet, not me, my old man. So there's 3 Ed Milets. I'm Edward III. I have a grandfather, my dad just died just a few weeks ago. My dad fought cancer for about 9 years. Growing up, my dad was alcoholic and would be gone. And it was a great, everything happens for you, not to you. The reason I have an ability to read people and to be present with them and to transfer energy with them is because when I was a 4-year-old boy with 3 little sisters, I had to read which dad was coming through the front. Is this happy, sober dad who wants to play catch? Or is this drunk dad? By the way, I got so good at it, I could tell by how the keys hit the lock which dad was coming through. And then I knew how to change his energy. Little 4-year-old little me. So these things that happen to you in life are all blessed, even when they're horrible. I don't speak to you right now if my dad's not alcoholic. I can't give you that energy that you felt if my dad didn't drink. I can't read you if my dad didn't drink. In fact, my career changed because my dad got sober, got me a job at his AA meeting because I was unemployed at an orphanage, and that orphanage changed my life because now I'm serving people first time in my life, and now I've been serving people the rest. So it's crazy. My dad got me this job. My dad gets sober. I'm living at home on his couch. He goes, I got you a job. I'm sick of you eating out of the fridge. I'm like, I got a college degree. What exactly is this job? He's like, you don't get to choose, dude. You're going tomorrow morning. And it was called McKinley Home for Boys. It's an orphanage. I walk into cottage 8. It's 8 to 10-year-old boys. My boys were all either molested by their family, dad's incarcerated, or they're dead. And I became their father. I took them trick-or-treating. I was there Christmas Day. At 22 years old, that was my job. It changed my life because I went from being this ego-driven athlete to serving people. And I could connect with them because I had a dysfunction family, right? And all these boys wanted was someone to love them, believe in them, care about them, show them how to live better. You know what I do for a living now? I love people, I believe in them, I care about them, I show them how to live better. Every human being is just like my little boy. All the people that work for you, they want you to love them, care them, believe in them, show them how to live better. That's all everybody ever you meet wants. Love me, man, care about me, believe in me, show me how to do a little better. Business or life, that's all they ever want.
What are you so afraid of? Why would you not take that leap, go for it before you mess around and die? Why would you not go and see what God really got for you before you leave this world? Why would you hang on to a job? Here's what happens, y'all. If you live in paycheck to paycheck right now, when you retire, they're going to give you 1/3 of what you can't live on now. They're going to give you a gold watch and a turkey, and they're going to set you on out to pasture. If I was you, before I leave this world, I'd go see what God really got for me. Just take a chance. Now, here's why you should take the chance. Name me one time God has not pulled you through. Just name it. Name the one thing God has never pulled you through. If he ain't pulled you through it, he's currently pulling you through it right now. And the reason I know I'm telling the truth is because you're sitting in here. If God was through with you, he wouldn't wake you up no more. When he wakes you up, it's because he ain't through with you yet. He got something else for you. So why don't you go see what that is? Look, it's mostly black people in here. Why we keep living our lives like we still slaves? Why we got to live our lives like we owe them something? Man, you owe yourself something. Go be free. Go see what God got for you. Oh, Steve, that's easy for you to say. You rich. Hell, did you hear me? I lived in a car for 3 years. On October 8th, I won $50. October 9th, I quit. How big a jump you want to take? You ain't even got to do it. A lot of y'all got savings. You may not have 3 years up, but you only need a little bit. Just jump. Go see what God got for you. Quit sitting here in your life posturing like it's okay. Quit funking the fake. Quit faking the funk. Quit got people thinking you something you ain't, man, when you really know you won't be something else. Can I just say that to a room full of black people? Dog, I get tired. I was speaking at Villanova last year. I had to stand up and pull myself together. Man, I couldn't wait to come here. I couldn't wait to come here so I could just be my natural black self. I just get tired. You know, look, I'm a host of Little Big Shots and Kids and Family Feud. I got a talk show. Let me tell you something, dog. I got 6 TV shows on the air right now, and all 6 of them is #1 in their time slot. Cause of God. Now, with that said, do you know how I have to be the majority of my life? Something for somebody else. This is the first room I've been in where I ain't got to be that. You know, I talk just like this here. I don't have no big words. I'm just telling you just like it is. You ain't got to believe me, but you can look at me. I'm telling you, it's proof in this here now that the God you serve really will give you what you ask for. He will. I'm not your preacher. I'm a hood dude that done messed around with no education. The mess around got to the top of the TV world, balling out of control. And I'm telling you, I was homeless and lived in a car, and I ain't got no education. Now y'all in here got degrees. I see it on your forehead. I can tell by the way you listening to me. You know how to listen. You know. Oh my God, this Negro's humorous. I see it on you. I feel when I'm around educated people. I know you know how to study it and math. I can look at you and I'm so proud of you. But hey man, the next level, go make yourself some money. You ain't gotta make $1 million, but 300,000 nice. 300,000 nice, though.